In the Palladino campaign, and you were quite vocal in your disagreement with his approach. What do you think about what you saw?
Well, I was very pleased to see him lay out his agenda. Cutting taxes by 10%, cutting spending by 20%, drilling for oil in the Marcellus Shale, where we have millions and millions of dollars of natural gas and oil deposits, which would create 50,000 jobs, appointing a special prosecutor to ferret out corruption, full disclosure for state legislators in Albany. I really think that the campaign ought to focus on those items. And when voters contrast Carl Palladino and Andrew Cuomo on those issues and the other candidates, we'll have a real debate and I think a real contest.
Okay, that's very much on message. The problem is that it was 3 minutes, and I would say maybe half of the 3 minutes was devoted to what you're speaking of here. The other half was mixed. I mean, what is prowess? What is he talking about when he says things like that?
Well, first of all, Carl Palladino is Italian. I think that might have been a compliment. As far as I know, Andrew Cuomo is single, has been single since 2003. I think that was a compliment. I mean, he moved on to the agenda. I would like to see him spend more time now just focusing on the issue differences between he and Attorney General Cuomo, determining who is an Albany outsider and who is an Albany insider and who is an outsider with an agenda to fix these problems. I think that's what the voters are looking for. I think that's what the voters want.
I'm sorry, a compliment? You thought that was a compliment? It didn't sound like a compliment to me. It sounded like he said, my affairs.
I thought it was a compliment.
Okay, you thought it was a compliment. All right, fair enough.
I thought it was a compliment.
But there was a little bit also of a gaffe there, because he talked about come out and debate like a man. Well, just before that aired, we heard.
No, I think here's what I think happened, Liz. In fact, here's what I know happened. This particular 3 minutes was taped at 4. At 4:15, it was supplied by WGRZ to the Cuomo campaign. At 5 o'clock, Andrew announced that he would accept a debate that is being sponsored by Newsday and Channel 12. So Palladino's debate challenge has been realized. I'm very pleased we're going to have a debate. It's very exciting. You're going to have Andrew Cuomo, you're going to have Carl Palladino, you're going to have Kristen Davis, the anti-prohibition party candidate, you're going to have Charles Barron, the Freedom Party candidate, a very fiery orator. You're going to have the Green Party candidate. So I think voters are going to get a real chance to see what their options are this November. Only weeks ago, people were telling me, Republicans and Democrats, you'll never get Andrew Cuomo to debate. He doesn't need to debate. He's 20 points ahead.
Okay, but Roger, here's the problem. When you have, you remember this, in 2002, we had much the same situation. We had a whole stage full of people, and you had the guy that everybody was trying to tee off on, and it was George Pataki. And he would only agree to debate his major party contender, Carl McCall, who, of course, Andrew Cuomo was trying to primary and then ended up dropping out against, with everyone there. And it's hard for the two major party candidates to actually face off when all of those people are there. I know you have another candidate in the race, and we'll get to it, but don't you think it's a little bit of a dodge?
No, I don't. I disagree with that. First of all, there were 9 candidates in the Pataki debate.
That's a lot of candidates.
There's only 6 candidates this year.
7.
I can't count 7 unless I'm counting incorrectly. Secondarily, Andrew Cuomo is the more experienced debater. He's a champion debater. He debated numerous times running for governor. He debated numerous times running for attorney general. So I think that the format of in and out may actually benefit Palladino and the other candidates. I also think you have to have some analysis of where the other candidates' votes might come from. Charles Barron's votes, I think, largely minority community votes. I don't know if he can branch out beyond that, we see, but I think those votes would come from Cuomo. The Green Party candidate that's a left reform party. Those votes might come from Cuomo. Kristen Davis is a mixed bag. She's against the mosque. She's for legalization of marijuana. It's a libertarian vote. So I think that there's a dynamic here. One thing we know, the major parties are in disrepute in this state. Voters are looking for something different. And to the extent that this race is not viewed as being close, some voters are more likely to cast a more casual vote.
Okay, the seventh candidate is actually a guy named Jimmy McMillan, and he's running on the The rent is too damn high party. But still.
Yes, pardon me. I'm not. I'd forgotten that gentleman. Yes.
He is on the ballot. In terms, though, of this, before we leave the issue of this ad, How much input did you have on it? Because I know that there was some division inside the campaign, and there were some people who actually hoped that he would be more forthcoming in an apology. He called Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver a criminal. He raised issues regarding Andrew Cuomo's personal life. Some people wanted him to say that he was sorry.
I don't think you understand the Carl Paladino style, and that was not likely. I do think he's turned the corner on this. I'm not sure that any parent watching that, having him walk through what actually happened with the New York Post, was sympathetic with the New York Post. I think that any parent could understand Paladino's anger. So it put the dust up with the provocateur, Fred Dicker, in some perspective for New York voters. They saw that video again and again. They saw Mr. Dicker poking him in the chest again and again. But I think maybe it put the whole incident in perspective for some voters.
And that request for campaign cash at the end, I mean, I thought that he was going to be self-funding this campaign largely. I know he raised some $200,000 in the last filing.
What he said was he would spend up to $10 million of his own. He spent a little less than $5 million in the primary. It is still a fact that Andrew has 20, probably on his way to 30, Albany insider money. Paladino cannot do this himself, although he is very successful. He is not so successful. He's not Michael Bloomberg or Ross Perot. I think he can put a very substantial amount of money into his campaign, but he's going to need small contributions to compete with Cuomo. I disagree with one other thing said earlier that I have to say. The polls today are not a manifestation of Fred Dicker. They're a manifestation of the fact that Andrew Cuomo's campaign has very deftly been on television at saturation levels, pounding Paladino for 3 weeks straight.
That's true.
Paladino has not been on TV.
Well, what is he waiting for then? When's he getting up on TV?
I would hope next week if I were his campaign. I think there is 3 weeks left. That's more than enough time to communicate. But when you have lesser resources, you do have to hoard your resources for the most important period. Most New Yorkers do not focus on the election until the final weeks. So I think you'll see some readjustment in those numbers for a couple of reasons. A third of voters say they may change their mind. You have a very volatile electorate. 90% of undecideds know and can rate Andrew Cuomo. 2/3 of undecideds do not know and cannot rate Carl Paladino. Paladino is, perhaps he's not the most diplomatic candidate. Maybe he doesn't say everything as delicately as he should. I still think this will be a race.
Okay, well, if that is in fact the case, right, he is not a delicate kind of a guy, and let's assume that this worked, that this 3-minute ad worked, and we're not exactly certain, and we probably won't know for a little while until we see the next poll perhaps. If he hit the reset button, can he keep it? Can he keep the momentum again? Or is he going to go out and step on his own message? Does he have the discipline to campaign through November 2nd?
Well, it's an excellent question. Discipline is 9/10 of politics. I honestly believe if he will focus on the issues, whether it's dismantling and putting the MTA under the control of the governor to straighten it out, or whether it is drilling in the Marcellus Shale for oil to create jobs and state revenues, or whether it's cutting taxes, that's what people want to hear about. I think a lot of these observers outside of New York don't understand how bad our economy is, don't understand how this state is choking on high taxes, and there is no job market. It's non-existent. That's what this campaign needs to be about. Paladino must talk about those things to have any chance to win.
Okay, I have to ask, Roger, how involved are you in Carl Paladino's campaign? Because the filings that he files with the State Board of Elections show that you are not personally getting paid, but a lot of people who are connected to you are making quite a bit of money off this campaign.
Let me put it another way. There are a limited number of vendors and professionals who are highly capable in this business. I recommended a number of them. If you want a piece of mail to go out and you want it to be well created and get to the post office on time, you use a vendor. If you're looking for an experienced scheduler, I can recommend one. Tony Fabrizio, who is our pollster, is also the pollster for Rick Scott, the Republican candidate who just won the primary, a businessman in Florida. I've recommended a lot of people for Michael Caputo. Michael Caputo and I have worked together for 25 years. The number of highly competent Republican professionals to work in campaigns is relatively small. To say that, oh, you once met Roger Stone or you once worked with him in a previous campaign, that would cover a lot of people in this state.
You just actually referred to it as our campaign. I mean, this isn't just sort of a fly-by-night, you know, oh, we once bumped into each other at the airport kind of a thing. You are definitely talking to these guys and counseling them.
And have never denied doing so, and I also admit to recommending some excellent professionals for them.
But you're not going to make any money off this campaign at all.
I hope to make money on the Kristen Davis campaign, which is the most exciting thing I'm involved in at this time.
Okay, but Roger,
I think when you have 5 middle-aged white guys, pardon me, 6. That's incorrect. When you have 4 middle-aged white guys, 2 middle-aged black guys, and Kristen Davis, that's going to be a very interesting debate.
Okay, but I've looked at her filing, actually, and she's got $2,000 on hand, and you actually paid for room and plane tickets that she needed.
Why would you assume that that's all she will have, or that she will raise?
I don't assume that. It's just what it is, the reality at this moment.
I would not assume that.
Okay, well, in the meantime, Roger Stone, it is always fun to talk to you. I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Great to be with you, as always.
Be well. So